So when we say TED Talk, it only focuses on something which a life journey can be helpful of. Now let me put it like this. The most of the things or every individual looks into it like this. I want a journey that is successful to me and to the world at large. This is what everyone mindset is. Now let's put it like this. How do we start? We either start it through our personal life or we start it through our professional or career life. Now when you see it growing, you always see it growing with something called challenges. Law calls it as a dispute. What is a challenge to you is actually something which is a confusion between two parties. Now every dispute cannot come to court. There are only few disputes which can come to court. And there are few other disputes. If you crystallize it further, these disputes can be sorted out of the court. But they have immense value on how your future focuses on. I'm not talking about the employment side of it. I'm talking about the vision of a person who grows from an entrepreneur to a serial entrepreneur and becoming a successful entrepreneur. Now, what are the challenges they face in life? There are 6 which we have jotted down and say that these are the possible challenges which you are bound to face, howsoever you want to avoid it. First challenge which you are going to face is there would be an agreement between any of the stakeholders which you are in business. Now, all those agreements are liable to be interpreted, and where is an interpretation, we also call it as misinterpretation. You think it in a different way, your stakeholder thinks it in a different way. Put it like this. You're developing a software, you have given a user interface, and in this user interface, you ask your client, what do you want? He gives you 100 different things. You boil it down and say, this is possible, this is not possible. But this is somewhere not syncing with between both of you. This is what we call as disagreement or misinterpretation. At the initial stage, there will not be any problem. But when things go further, whenever there is some dissatisfaction on some activity going on, this disagreement will become a wide aspect and it will become a debatable issue every time when you meet. All debates don't settle. And that debates which can be settled, which will impact your financial thought process. Let's look at the second aspect of commercial aspect. You are performing. Whatever your client asks, you try to deliver. And whatever you try to deliver will have a limitation. Now this limitation, when it is not communicated, it becomes a performance mishap. What you think is successful may be a failure to the end user. Let's see the third aspect. Whenever you're trying to supply or whenever you're trying to give a product to your client, what happens is a delay in supply for 1001 reasons. Now all these 1001 reasons cannot be documented, and if they are documented, no one has time to read. Imagine you are giving a 200 pages agreement to be read and signed, and you have 2 hours time to do it. What do? We read it like a newspaper. Headings, bold letters, underline, close, sign. Why? Reason is you want the deal. You're not worried about the 200 pages. You're worried about the project. You're worried about the delivery time. You're not worried about the document. Now let's look it further. When you have a document, what you read and what you understand may be read and understood by other person in a different way. Now whenever there is a dispute that is going to come, this document will be the first thing that is going to be referred. And people will go to a person called advocate. Now what's our job? We read this 200 pages 20,000 times. 20,000 times. And when we read, we find some gap somewhere and we try to explore. Sometimes what happens is in this exploring, it goes out of turn. Now when I'm trying to solve this, I'll explain you how this exploring comes to a different aspect. Now after that, major concerns that can happen when you explore is there will be a price variation concern, there will be a quality concern. These are the aspects which bottom line come to a caption called commercial disputes. Courts address these commercial disputes and say this can be handled outside. Now, what do you mean by handling outside? There can be a dialogue. In court, there is no dialogue. In court, we don't talk to each other. We talk to the judge. Judge takes a decision, gives it to you. But in out of the court, when you're actually trying to solve the issue, you try to have a dialogue. That dialogue is what we technically call in legal language as mediation. This is the first phenomenon that we have to follow. What is more important is the mediator. Mediator should understand what are the problems as such. Generally, when there is a fight, if you actually visualize a fight that is happening, especially between a commercial aspect, it is more of ego clash. Less of money, more of ego clash. I want to see the end of the person or beginning of the person. So much of juggleries come up. But point which you should understand is what for you are fighting. Come down to the bottom line point. It is a supply of 15 lakh worth of product. Where is your dispute? Lies in 15 lakhs. Where is your actual dispute? It could be quality, it could be price, it could be supply of the good. Come to that point. And when you come to that point, suddenly you feel the entire 200 days of trauma is into 200 minutes of research. And which boils down to 2 minutes of decision. This 2 minutes of decision is to be driven by someone called mediator, because mediator has to actually listen to both of them. And this person will send a tsunami, this person will send a volcano. Now you hear the both sides, cool it up. Put it in a fridge and say, boss, this is the coolest part of it, and this is your actual problem. And this problem has these two solutions. And of these two solutions, you both are benefited. Now, the moment you say this, in a convincing way to both of them, you have actually mediated. Now, for this, what you need is an understanding skills, hell a lot of patience, because when the dialogues are going on, the mediator will be visualized as the opponent. What all scoldings he wants to give to the opponent, he will give to the mediator. In fact, there may be time where literally the person will rise from the chair. You will be surprised, he will hit you or not. But rest assured, he will not do it, because he has come there for solution, he has not come there for problem. So you must be stand still, patient, listen with attentiveness. Now there is one beautiful point here. When we say listen with attentiveness, it should not be like a class where we put a smiling face but we input nothing. You must be attentive so that tomorrow when there is a question answer session and when the other fellow is asking what did he say for this, you should not answer. You should note down what should be the answer. And once this mediation challenge is done, you have helped two entrepreneurs add value to the country. Because a dispute will have a future impact. One, there is an emotional distress. Day in and day out, place wherever you go, you will be thinking, memorizing, remembering and fighting out it. Because your heart and your mind are extensive platforms to fight. And you fight imagining everyone there. This will come down. When you close that particular dispute, this will automatically come down and you'll concentrate on your business, making sure that your future profitability goes up. Mediation is acceptable in law, but the solution of mediation is to be accepted by both the parties. It's a common agreement between both the parties, signed and facilitated by the mediator. There is no challenge of mediation in the courts. The second step, what we call, is an arbitration. In an arbitration, you appoint a person by an agreement. Same thing happens, but arbitration rewards, it comes out as an award, and this award is enforceable. You may like arbitration award, you may not like arbitration award, but there's nothing called you don't like a mediation award. The reason is it is understood by both of you and settled between both of you. But an arbitration is something which is a perceived process of law. Whatever happens in the court, same thing happens with an arbitrator. Speed is more, documentation is more, system tries to give you a solution. But in this both cases, if you actually see, the system's solution which is given to you must be acceptable to you. So first thing what we are supposed to do when a dispute comes, sit, with someone who is unbiased and independent to the event. Explain the facts. Be informative to listen, digest, accept. Once this is done, you will know where are the points where you have to really ponder upon and find a solution. This is what we call as controlling your future emotional and financial stress. Because a dispute will always lead to these two. There will be an emotional stress, there will be a financial stress. To control it, you need to actually have this set in place. You must be focused on listening, coming to the series of points which are debatable, and finally come to a positive, acceptable solutions. Now, what's the next one? Whenever there is a dispute that is going to come, what should you actually do is not to memorize, focus on, evaluate the dispute. What should be more important is how the alternatives arise for this particular dispute. For example, you have a delay in supply, change the vendor. You have a problem in pricing, change your profitability calculations. You have a problem in the agreement, have a dialogue with your other stakeholder as to what your agreement is, where you want them to concentrate, what you would be interested to read. This is what we call as interests, common interest areas which we have to always explore. Once you're done with this, there will never be a concept of misrepresentation. So these areas come under something called alternatives. That's where we call control and alt. We are at control, now we have come to alt. At control, what you're supposed to focus is, in a dispute, what are the areas which are irrelevant, remove them. What are the areas which are relevant, jot down. This is your control area. And when you say alt, that's where your alternatives stand for. Once you know these are the problems, you also know this could be the possible solutions. And vet this solution with someone who is experienced. Don't talk your next friend. Your experience is 5 months, his experience is 6 months, he doesn't become senior. Your experience is 5 months, you should go to a person who has experience of at least 10 years and say, this is what I understand. Is my understanding right? Now, when you say your understanding is right, then the solutions which you have called for may be correct, may not be correct. They will vet it. Cross-verify, convince yourself. Once you are done with it, then sit coolly and say, okay, for 15 lakh of dispute, if I am settling at 12 lakhs today, will it be okay? You can bring any financial table over there. It says, boss, 15 lakhs today. If you get it after 10 years, at cost or inflation index, that 15 lakhs comes down to 9 lakhs. What is better? 9 lakhs after 10 years with emotional stress, or 12 lakhs today with zero stress? This is what we have to focus on. And that is where we delete our future uncertainties. When you want to grow, you will always get disputes right, left and center. Don't expect your life to be a very plain vanilla life. If it is plain vanilla, no one likes. How many of us like vanilla ice creams? No one here. I also don't like. We want some toppings in it. We want butterscotch, we want this, we want that. Right? Now, when you really want all this, do you think life will come with a plain one? No, it will not. It will give you all the special effects. Now, the special effects must be specially dealt, for which you should have special presence of mind. That's it. Focus on it and see that whatever comes as a dispute, first evaluate whether it's a personal dispute or a commercial dispute. If it is a personal dispute, what is the best thing? Go sit, have a dialogue, end it with a biryani. When it is a commercial dispute, you can't end it with biryani. That's also cost. So what do? You end it with a solution which is positive for both of you. This is what I wanted to share. Thank you for listening.